Today's the 1 year anniversary of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, right? That is today when they stormed over the border, yeah. Absolutely wild, but it's been a full year. I remember it vividly, like it was yesterday. We're still living out the consequences, of course. I saw this compilation posted earlier. You know, you all remember how the US State Department was 100% right and people still can't handle it? Yeah, the 1 year anniversary of a 3-day special military operation. The State Department was like, yeah, it turns out that the actual reason why the Russians have been mounting hundreds of thousands of troops on the border of Ukraine is because they're going to invade Ukraine. And everyone was like, nah, nah, no way, no shot, no, you're gonna listen to the State Department, and then it ends up happening anyway. Unironically, Putin would have gotten a bigger dub if he had wasted those millions of dollars and just pulled the troops away from the Ukrainian border as like a haha, you thought we would, you know, like, hey, shows what the State Department knows, haha, and like skipped away, you know. That would have been the play, but he didn't do that. Yeah, if he did a little troll, you know? The Ukraine invasion that never arrives is showing us once again that when it comes to Russia, you really can't just completely ignore all the so-called experts in the mainstream media. Man, Russiagate really did, like, demolish political discourse in this country. It is crazy how today leftists and even, like, left-leaning social democrats will pretend that the Russiagate stuff was made up when there was a gigantic, like, Senate committee report conclusively demonstrating that it wasn't made up. The only thing that wasn't found was the Mueller investigation did not confirm that Trump himself had colluded with the Russian government, but a number of his officials had, which still seems important. You know, that still seems relevant. Like, okay, the president didn't, but a bunch of people right next to the president did. And all the stuff about, like, the Russian government making an active effort to promote disinformation as a way of sowing discord, like that did all happen, was proven to have happened. No? But people still... My god, the Leopards have made it to the rightful place. What are we talking about? Leopard 2 tanks already in Ukraine. Let's go, boys. Let's go. Let's go. If only it was real leopards. Like the animal, you know? I hear they're very strong. I like the blue and yellow, like ramp. It's very nice. Dino Riders have been deployed to Ukraine. True. Very true. They just unleash hundreds of actual leopards into occupied areas. It would probably work. Anyway, a whole year after the invasion of Ukraine, you know, obviously objectives have kind of stalled on both sides. This has been devastating for the Russian economy, but it's been devastating in a way that they can weather, because since the economy is, as all leftists know, completely made up, it's actually possible to just collapse a nation's economy and then they just keep going. You know, that can happen. The Russian economy is crippled, but they're crippled at a level where they can continue to operate. You know, as they lose more and more armor, more and more ammunition, more and more fuel, they whittle down the good faith of their allies. China is done with Russia's shit. They have been done with Russia's shit for a long time. The only reason China maintains a positive relationship with Russia, probably the same with India, is because they're all kind of part of a loose anti-Western global counter-hegemon. In terms of, like, actual reliability, Russia is at an unbelievable all-time low for all of its allies. And, you know, I don't know how the actual war is going to end. I remember so vividly, like, the early days of the conflict, when the general consensus from absolutely everyone was like, yeah, it's really just a matter of time for how long Ukraine lasts. Like, maybe Russia will take over everything. Maybe Russia will take everything up to the Dnieper River and, like, take Kiev or whatever. But now it's like, okay, well, they're just going to stall out for 50 years in the Donbass. The reason I don't cover much of the Ukraine war anymore isn't because it's stopped being important, and it's not because it's stopped being, like, interesting or relevant or whatever. It's mostly because, well, for one, things have stalled out in large part during the winter, because it is difficult to do military stuff during the winter in cold areas. It's just, you know, I ran the numbers by some experts. It turns out that people are less likely to march in formation when it's cold. I don't know. I don't know the math on that. You know, things are probably stalling on account of that. So good luck to them all. You know, I mean, their piss freezes midair as they you know, aim at the base of the tree. I don't think much can be done under those circumstances. It will be spring soon, which also means that the frozen ground will thaw and be muddy, and that'll be its own fun. Yeah, the point that I'm getting at here is that it is still enormously important, and we are waiting for developments. You know, it's some wacky stuff. I really do think that right now Ukraine, in a lot of ways, kind of is the center of the world, because Ukraine is. I think we can firmly call it now a Western country, at least in terms of its allegiances, and it is also right now the anti-fascist bulwark of the world. You know, as Western Europe and as America kind of crumble into fascism. Ukraine is not likely to, in large part because people develop their politics based on like oppositional biases, and Russia is one of the global centers of fascist outreach and has been for a long time. The Kremlin has long supported, backed, financed, fundraised for, and fought wars on behalf of the far right all around the world. The opposition to Russia in Ukraine has cemented that country's status as a liberal democracy. So hopefully Ukraine stands, and hopefully they remain an inspiration to us all. What do you say to the allegations the West is purposefully supplying Ukraine with just the precise level of equipment to keep both sides stalled instead of being able to advance? That is not true. That's absolutely not true. The West has provided Ukraine with a ridiculous amount of support. The problem with Ukraine's advancement right now is not that they don't have one more tank. It's just the logistical difficulties of forcing people out of like heavily trenched, messy, semi-urban territory connected by a bunch of frozen mud rivers, especially when Russia has seemingly an inexhaustible supply of recruits. You know, you could get 5, 10, 20, 100 more tanks. I don't think it would change that math. And yeah, and the West doesn't really benefit from prolonging the war, like, at all.